up-tempo offense. So, they obviously did run the ball really well as well, but I don't know. So you don't necessarily know exactly who a guy is. If you're bringing in Graham Harrell, you want to throw the ball 40 times a game at least. Like I don't know why else you're bringing him in. Him being an air raid guy, like that's what they're gonna do. So I don't know. We'll see how it works out.
Personally, I was hoping that Todd Monken would get plucked. I'm
just
sure
you were.
I'm annoyed that this man. We lose Alex Golish to USF, and like Todd Monken's just sitting around in this Georgia offensive coordinator room, and I'm like, get this guy out of here. Buster Faulkner gets plucked, which was a positive as the OC at Georgia Tech, but man, I'm waiting on the Monken departure. I'm waiting on it, Matt Green. I was hoping Ryan Walters could get
you just
him in
look
there.
at a guy like Monken. I mean, with what his like track record is, like he's had some NFL success. Like he's been in college. Like he's had the stint in Southern Miss. That was his only head coaching tenure, and it's like, does this guy want to be a head coach? Like I think that's part of it. Like with what the recruiting game is, it's like, does he want to recruit 50 hours a week, or does he want to just call plays and enjoy being the highest paid coordinator in college football? Who knows? So guys can sometimes get comfortable in their role. I think Monken is going to be, with every year that Georgia has success offensively, I think he's going to be a name that's brought up, every year. So, I mean, we still don't know that he'll make it out of this season without taking a jump. Because
Navy, it's time. Get the Monken family bowl for Army Navy. Let's get Todd Monken versus Jeff Monken going.
He's getting paid like I think $2.5 million a year. Like
Navy can do 2.6.
Can Navy pay the head coach $2.6 million? I'm not sure they can. Like,
it's a good question. I don't know what they make.
I think you're sitting like you've seen now Georgia coordinators get the head coaching job at Oregon, at Arkansas, at Mel Tucker went to Colorado, but now at Michigan State. It's like there's no reason to really wait around. Like, is Purdue that good of a job? Like, I don't think it's on the level of those other programs that
he would have fit that offense and his style. Like, he actually would have been interesting as a HC at Purdue.
He could be holding out for something better, or he could just be enjoying his time. How old is he? I don't know. I'd have to say he's got to be 60. But
he is 56.
56. Okay, I apologize, Todd. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you just get comfortable doing a certain thing. In Georgia, it's like he's got the keys. He can do whatever he wants on that offensive side of the ball. And you've seen Georgia have a really good offense the last couple of years. And like I've told you before, I think Will Muschamp. Like I think Will Muschamp is never going to have another job other than I don't think he's ever going to leave Georgia. I should say. Like I think. At some point, Glenn Schumann is probably going to get a head coaching job here in the next 4 or 5 years or something. And then I think Muschamp will be the solo defensive coordinator. And just however long Kirby's at Georgia, I think Muschamp's going to just be his right-hand man. He's done his head coaching job thing. Now he's back in Athens. He's home. I don't know. I wonder if Muschamp will ever leave.
I think he's going to do the home thing for a while, but I think he goes Terry Bowden to me. He strikes me as a Terry Bowden guy. Or not Terry. Which one's Terry and which one's Tommy? I always get them backwards. Tommy was the Clemson coach, right?
Tommy was Clemson, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Terry, I had it right. Where he took Akron, and then he was at like ULM.
Did he go to like Samford, or he went somewhere real small, didn't he?
He was at a couple small ones. I think Muschamp is like the coach of South Alabama in like 7 years, or like UAB or something. I don't think he gets another Power 5 job, but I think he does the circuit at the end where he coaches the small schools in the South.
Yeah, it's possible. Valdosta State.
Yeah, like something like that. Jacksonville State even. That's where Rich Rod is. People just assume these guys are going to keep getting these head coach. I'm like, I don't think these programs are just dipping back in like they used to in that regard. I don't think they're going for a retread of that many ilks.
Everyone wants to find the next Sean McVay. They want to find a 34-year-old coach.
Like, there's a reason Dan Mullen's not coaching in the SEC. I mean, look, we'll see, but I think it's hard to get multiple stops in this conference. Bowl game that you were most intrigued by and you learned the most from in our pod one, Matt Green, was which one? Which one had your attention? Which one were you locked in on?
The one I watched the most was definitely Florida, Oregon State. It's hard to say we learned the most from that because it's like, is Jack Miller ever going to start another game as Florida's quarterback? It's like, it's hard to say. But Oregon State, it's kind of like I said.
All right, hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Chase Thomas Podcast, where I'm still the aforementioned Chase Thomas, coming to you live from Knoxville, Tennessee. Everything School HQ, freshly graduated Matt Green. Already had the ring, but now it's official, done deal. The Masters is done. I am officially a Tennessee alumni. VFL, Everything School HQ. We are feeling good. It was great to be in the building to wrap up with all my fellow volunteers. Graduated with Jacob Warren, starting tight end for Tennessee. I told him, no joke, when we were talking after the event. I was like, and we got put up side by side, walking out of the arena of Thompson Bowling, and I was like, we can't stand next to each other. You make me look like I'm 5'2". Like, this is not going to work, because he's gigantic, and he's a nice dude. And I was like, we cannot be standing next to each other as we're walking around TBA right now. This is the size discrepancy is not good for me. I can't handle it. Like, I'm almost 6 feet. I'm a 5'11" guy, but standing next to a 6'7" tight end, it's just a little bit different. But shout out to Jacob Warren on a job well done as well. But either way, a fantastic day all around, fantastic weekend. Family came in. It was fun. Got to do the whole walking. Got hooded. It was quite cold, but it was good weather. And there you go. Nico arrives. I graduate. It was my time to pass the baton of keeping the Everything School movement in order. It is now in the hands of Nico Maliava and company, and the next generation of Everything School stars. Matt Green, how are you?
I'm doing excellent, sir. Well, congratulations on a job well done. Graduating from that Everything School up there. I think that's 3 or 4 we're up to on the pod now.
Yeah. People should just take shots at the beginning of these shows. Like, just get it ready, because you're going to be taking shots immediately.
There you go. So, so congrats on that. But had something on my mind today, sir. This was an excellent Sunday, just action-packed Sunday of sports we had
Hard
today.
disagree. I just, as my Falcon shirt, my hoodie is on, like, that was horrific.
I didn't even notice. We're both in the Army kind of colors right now. I'm kind of in that Army green. You got that Army camo, Falcons working. But for those of us that aren't Falcons fans, that honestly didn't even see the NFL red zone guy that I am, probably saw like 30 seconds, a minute total of that Falcons game. It was just Falcons. The Falcons don't do anything to me. But in this great Sunday, I was wondering if you had maybe an apology ready or a retraction ready here for your blasphemous talk about the World Cup before it all started. Did you happen to catch the World Cup final with Argentina and France?
It's funny you asked, because I went in because we did not get the Falcons game locally here in Knox. So when we don't get it here, I usually will go to a sports bar with my notepad and go take notes and go watch it at a sports bar here. And I did that again today, and I got there early because I never know how packed it's going to be. So got to find a seat and then have them turn it to the Falcons, because no one really wants to request that. Most people are not like, hey, can you flip on Desmond Ritter and company? We want to see what that's looking like on the Sunday afternoon. But for me, I get there a little bit early every time, and I was probably like 15, 20 minutes early, and the World Cup's on, and obviously PKs and everything's going on. But I'm seeing before, I saw leading up to it that Argentina was up 2-0, and then I saw a Colts meme of Argentina's logo, or the Colts logo inside Argentina's flag, and I was like, oh, uh-oh. Then France came all the way back, and I saw that the way they won and the PKs and all that. But Matt Green, this is going to be, I know where you're going with this.
It was incredible, man.
It's blasphemous because, hold on, let's be clear. You're going to try and throw me under the bus here. What was my take specifically? It was not a World Cup take. What was my actual take?
I think your take was that United States fans are dumb for getting excited. What was it?
Not my take.
What's your take?
I'm very pro people can enjoy what they want to enjoy. What I am saying is me personally doesn't move the needle. I watch the U.S. women. So when they're back next and they're just kicking ass and they are going to run roughshod over the tournament, that's fun. It's worth investing. The men's team, you watch that Argentina-France, they're never coming close to that. They're never winning a World Cup. So I just don't look at it as worthy of my time. Like, I'm not investing emotionally in the U.S. men's team.
What does Morocco have that the United States doesn't have?
Morocco didn't win.
Morocco made the Final Four.
Right, but they're still not winning. They were never going to win the World Cup.
You're over here as a fan of a team that hasn't really contended for a title in a long time, but you're still a diehard fan. It's like getting mad at an Ohio Bobcats fan for getting excited about making the NCAA tournament.
Hold on, are you
guys aren't
comparing
going
the
to
Tennessee
win.
Volunteers to Ohio? Is that what's happening here, or the Falcons, or where are we going? Who's the comp here for the U.S. men's national
Tennessee,
team?
I mean, how
They won a
close has
title.
Tennessee been to a championship in
But what I'm
20
saying,
years?
they won a title. They were number one in the CFP
yes,
ranking
they
this
have.
year.
But I'm saying there's been a lot of years where they're not a contender.
For
Going
sure.
in, they're not a contender. But it
if
doesn't
everything
stop
goes
you
well,
from
they can
enjoying every
win.
step of the way.
No, well, hold on. You can win a title here. You can't win a title at Ohio. Like, the U.S. men's national team is like, yeah, you can't win a title with this group. It can never happen. We would have to cancel a lot of our major sports leagues.
They're in the tournament, and anything can happen once you're in the
You
tournament.
just watched the 1980 Miracle on Ice. What was that? The U.S. men's national team.
Exactly. That wasn't supposed to happen, but it did.
There's
the year Villanova wasn't supposed to win the national championship in 86, whatever that was. They're like the 8th seed. But they did it. It's like stuff happens like that. Like, so
I don't think the World Cup's built like that. Has there ever been a team that's won? I mean, I'm not an expert on the World Cup, so
I'm not an expert on the World Cup, but they're mainly the powerhouses, Brazil and Spain and France has won multiple ones recently, and obviously Argentina now. But yeah, it's Germany. But it's just to rain on someone's parade when they're just in the tournament, like, you can't.
I'm not raining on the parade.
They got to the knockout stage too.
Hold on.
Like, they got to the final 16. It was like
on.
a solid Sweet 16 run. Like, if Purdue's in the tournament as like a 6 seed, as a 5 seed, it seems like Purdue's a 5 seed every single year in the NCAA tournament. If they make a run to the Sweet 16, like, should Purdue fans not be excited about being in the NCAA tournament?
Wait, are we saying NCAA tournament? Are we saying basketball or football?
You're talking in basketball.
They're the number one team in the country right now in basketball.
Purdue?
Yes.
I literally have not watched any college basketball. Terrible example. But Purdue is like legit like a 5 seed like every year. Wisconsin or something, they're like a 5 seed every year. Those type of teams.
But they can win the title, absolutely.
Pick your team right now. I'm not paying attention
George
to
Mason
college
can't win the
basketball.
title.
Like a Arkansas. How good is Arkansas this year?
When healthy, they're probably the best or second best SEC team.
So they're a little better than I'm trying to come up with an example, like a Florida maybe right now. I don't know, but maybe an SEC team that's not ranked, that you're like, oh, they're not even a bubble team. They're clearly going to be in the tournament. Those level of teams that are like a 5 or a 6 seed in the tournament,
probably like Auburn right now.
They're still going to be like excited for the NCAA tournament. Think their team can has a chance to make a run. It's just, that's the nature of the beast. Like, once you're in the tournament, like, you have to be excited. Like,
hold on. Not what I'm saying. I am saying, and look, I am not attacking you or anyone else for enjoying it, Matt Green. I never once said you're wasting your time. I want you to experience what you want to experience. I feel like it was more negative than this. I feel like you were raining on the soccer United States soccer fans. No, I'm saying that it's weird to invest. Like, look, for me, it just was similar to being like a Ohio Bobcat fan that went undefeated in the MAC, and it's like in the 12-team playoff era, you like make the playoff, but it's like, well, no, you're not beating Ohio State, Bama, and Tennessee or something in succession. Like, you literally don't have the players to do that. So I think we compare college football to the Premier League and Champions League all the time anyway. It's the haves and the have-nots. Like, that's how it's always been. The NCAA tournament is a completely different thing. There's a lot of different teams that can win that, but still, there are the haves and the have-nots. Like, you can have a good run. Like, St. Peter's can have a fun out-of-nowhere run, but they still can't win the title. They can't win every single game in the tournament and make it. It hasn't happened. And I think for the men's national team, we have to get a lot... Like, we have to take soccer a lot more seriously on the men's side. The women's side have just created this awesome empire, and there is so much buy-in, and it's so well coached, and they've just developed this juggernaut.
But
that's like
you're just looking at it from a United States perspective.
Right.
It's like, so Iran, who's like maybe like the 30th ranked team in the world or something,
Yeah.
like they qualified for the World Cup too.
Yeah, they
they're
didn't
one of
win
those
either.
teams who's probably not going to win, but they're going to be amped to be there, and they're going to go nuts like Australia
not
or
me.
something. Like your team's in the big dance.
Well,
like,
also there
there's
was another
32
part of
teams
this.
here.
Hold on, there was another part of this where there was other things on. Like this World Cup in the fall cannot be a normal thing. Like the part of the I might have been more interested in the summer because there's not as much going on. We just have baseball by and large.
Yeah.
So you have more time.
I didn't hate it though because it lined up with a
didn't
lot
like
of holidays too. Like I didn't hate that.
But you're not an NFL and NBA guy, really, and you're not diving into college basketball this early. Like you got your college football, Matt Green. You're the CFP
I'm a casual
expert.
NFL guy. I'm a fantasy NBA guy, and I'm like not college. It's not college basketball season till college football season's over in my book.
That's the
it's
most
like
Georgia
I'm
basketball
not
thing I've
paying
ever
attention
heard.
to college basketball till January. Like I can't do it. So
How's
you're
Mike White going?
You're right. Say what? So what
How's
now?
Mike White going? Mike White era?
I do know they beat Notre Dame today, so that was a big win for the Bulldogs. But
Let me pull up Notre Dame.
so I do know a little something, but no, it's definitely still football season for me. But
Hold on.
I don't know, and you can have like obviously the women are better at their sport than the men, but
Notre
give
Dame's
me the
102nd
men's
in
World Cup over the women's World Cup all day. It's just a better product. Like
Can't do it, Matt Green. You're not
Hands
going to sell
down.
me on this. Next year, my wife actually talked about it today, and we're like, I cannot wait next summer to watch them just kick the crap out of everybody.
so, do we know where the next women's World Cup is? Because I would imagine it's not in Qatar.
Well, this one should not have been in Qatar.
I mean, yeah, like I would imagine the women wouldn't be down with that.
It is Australia and New Zealand.
Okay. So yeah, you can have 2024. I'll wait till 2026 for the.
Hold on, 2024. Are you skipping a year? It's 2023.
Oh, is the women in 2023? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it'll be good. Watch it next summer. Get the investment. And be like, wow, another.
I'm sure I'll watch because the women are good. But
Yeah.
the only reason I'm watching is because the women are the best team in the world.
Yeah, it's
But
fun.
I'm watching anybody play in the men's World Cup because it was just good. It was good stuff. And working from home too, got it on at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. a game every day. Like that was awesome for a while.
Man, I watched exactly like 25 seconds. They made me watch it. I'm like, can we put on like pregame? Like, what are we doing here? I don't have any investment in this.
Man.
Like, can we put on? What's Terry Bradshaw
beautiful
think
game,
about Panthers
sir.
Steelers?
Unbelievable. The beautiful game.
I mean, look, I like soccer. What I'm saying is we're dancing in circles here. I am not emotionally invested in that, and there's too much going on. World Cup in the fall doesn't work for me.
Doesn't
Mac,
work for you.
Doesn't
Kylian
work for me.
Mbappe, hat trick in the World Cup final. Lionel Messi, cementing
who's
his
Mbappe?
legacy. Doesn't do anything for you.
No, who cares? It's not on my radar. And I think a lot of people are. Never mind. I'm not gonna go down that road of the fakers who are like, oh, what this means for Messi's legacy and all this. I'm like, I don't remember you being much of a soccer guy before this, but
No, it doesn't mean.
are you grinding the FC Barcelona tape year in year out?
I think Messi's just like one of the most like beloved players. Like he's one of those stars that like no one hates. Like does anyone hate on Roger Federer? You know, like I feel like it's just kind of there's some of those people that are just like yeah he's like amazing. You just respect him.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where Messi is, and he didn't like need anything to like solidify being the best player of all time or one of them. But I mean,
just don't have a take on
pretty,
it. I'm just
that's
like,
pretty badass for your just overall legacy, like winning a World Cup. It's like all the United States players that like go into the basketball players that go into the Naismith Hall of Fame, and it's like, oh, he's a 3-time gold medal winner. And it's like, yeah, I'm sure he is. He played for the United States. But like Manu Ginobili being a gold medal winner, it's like, okay, that one means something. That was actually like a big time accomplishment. But Carmelo Anthony having 3 gold medals, it's like, cool. Like, that's fine.
wow. There you go, Matt Green. How do we lead in and transition from this attack to start things off? Graduation weekend, like feeling good, and he's going after me for my World Cup viewing habits. Matt Green. Well, we have a lot of cool news, and I want to bounce around and stuff because it's not the off season, but it is bowl season. We'll get into a couple thoughts on the bowl games that happened over the weekend. We got 4 to preview in our pod. So I broke them up into pods. So when you look at the titles, you'll see the broken up rather on the pod front. So we're in pod 2 now. Matt has done a great Google sheet for us to organize this to make it all work and flow. Because some pods do all of them at once, and I'm just like, I have no interest in doing like a 2.5 hour like mega bowl pod. That's just not.
I can't listen to someone talking about 40 straight bowl
games.
It's
not me. That's ridiculous. It's not going to be us. So we're sparing the listener from having to go down that rabbit hole with us, but we do appreciate you tuning in to the full ride here on the Chase Thomas podcast. Matt Green, Bo Nix is returning to the University of Oregon. Kenny Dillingham is not back, obviously, because he became the head coach at Arizona State. Bo Nix going to Oregon was a big reason. A big reason was Kenny Dillingham, who was his OC originally with Gus Malzahn at Auburn. He moves on to be the head man, a young head man in Tempe, Matt Green. But look, I think this is kind of big, where Oregon was ahead of schedule in year one. They were a couple crazy in-game calls from Dan Lanning away from really having a strong case to make the college football playoff in year one out of the Pac-12 and in that CFP drought for the Pac-12. By and large, I think an extremely successful season for the Ducks. The Ducks are bringing back a lot of talent. Thornton's in the portal, but they got a big receiver transfer already. They obviously were able to run the ball with their two-headed monster all season long this year. Bo Nix had his best college season to date, which is huge for them. But I want to ask you, what does it mean for their future with Will Stein, now the new offensive coordinator, taking over? So obviously he is on board with Bo Nix. I don't think Bo Nix comes back unless he feels like he is going to be the guy. So Matt Green, long way of saying Bo Nix returning. How does that shape what you think of the Ducks going into 2023?
I mean, I think they have to be considered one of like a top 5, top 10 team coming into 2023. Honestly, like he was a Heisman candidate. Like Oregon was a really good team this year, and the Pac-12 was a really good conference. Like I think Auburn, every Auburn fan, like I really wonder, I'd like to talk to some Auburn fans about Bo Nix, because I bet you half the fan base is kind of pissed at him that like now he's good that he went to Oregon. And the other half of the fan base is probably like, I knew he was this good all along. We just had to put him in the right system, whatever the case may be, put him in the right situation. Because this guy completed over 70% of his passes, like 14 rushing touchdowns this year, 27 touchdowns, 6 picks. Like he was a baller this year. So I think USC is probably going to be the betting favorite, going into next year with Caleb Williams and it just being year 2 of Lincoln Riley. Like we'll see whatever they do on signing day and in the portal. But I think Oregon, this is huge for Oregon, because there's a few teams out there that are competitors contenders this year that like lose their quarterback. You really have no idea what they're going to be coming into 2023. But I think this puts a floor of Oregon's season next year, I think at like 9 wins or so. So I think they're definitely a contender to definitely make the playoff, and who knows, win it all next year.
I mean, they're in the blue chip ratio. They've got a bunch of talent. Dan Lanning obviously knows defense. Will Stein, which was a great hire, who comes from UTSA, who has just been a juggernaut in the last few years with their offense. So going that route to pick your OC, plucking former Louisville quarterback, young dude, but fun offense. And obviously Harris has just been a dynamite QB in the UTSA Roadrunner system for years now. Bo's in good hands, and I also think he looks at it as like the guys in front of him where I don't know how they would have gone, but like you look at the mocks and you see like Will Levis and Anthony Richardson ahead of him, and you're like, the Bo tape this year and the physical tools, I don't know why you would take either of those guys over Bo. I think he deserves a lot of credit for not letting that opening shellacking in the Dome to Georgia rock his season, because obviously they did not go well. But like after that, he just put on an absolute clinic, like you said, completing 70% of his passes, was an absolute machine. He was going throw for throw with Michael Penix Jr. At UW in that rough loss at home, and he got banged up later on in the season. Maybe that was partly because he ran the ball a lot more. But I mean, UCLA gets Kent. I think they got Kent State's quarterback to replace DTR in the portal. So they should be fine. He had big numbers in that scheme last year, and their head coach just left to be the OC at Colorado. But you look at the Pac-12, Matt Green, Shedeur Sanders. You've got Arizona State, which is a huge question mark. It might be DJU territory. Bo Nix at Oregon. You've got Caleb Williams back at USC. Jaden DeLora back at Arizona. Cam Ward graduated, so he's gone out of eligibility. But Michael Penix Jr. at Washington, you look at the top of this conference. We've talked about it all year this year. It's probably the most underrated conference in college football, and they return all these big superstar quarterbacks. Like, I think the Pac-12 is going to be maybe even better next year. And I think even though they didn't make the playoff this year, they didn't get a playoff team, I think they're in great position to make it next year because the quarterback play is going to be excellent in back-to-back years, and this is quietly becoming like the place to be for quarterbacks. And I think they're even going to have more talent at the top of this conference at the quarterback spot than previous years.
Yeah, I think so. And they're also, they brought in, there's 2 Alabama commits in the portal right now, too, with Trayshawn Holden and Kyrie Jackson. So, Oregon's definitely making some moves. I know they go at Texas Tech at a conference. Like, this will be the first year Bo Nix doesn't have to play Georgia in his career, so I'm sure he'll be enjoying that. They also go at Utah and at Washington next year. But, yeah, I think they're definitely in a position to contend for a playoff appearance in 2023.
Absolutely. Matt Green, Florida clinched back-to-back losing seasons, but they also clinched not being shut out for the most amount of times in a row with that late field goal against Oregon State. That was rough. The Vegas Bowl just absolutely crushing the Gators. Jack Miller does not look like the guy down in Gainesville, we can say. But rough game for the Gators, and they fall 6-7 in year one for Billy Napier. Like, look, they're a top 10 team right now in the recruiting rankings, but man, you get the 2024 commit. What's his name? Lanewood, Lagway, which is good. So the recruiting stuff's there. He's doing stuff that Dan Mullen did not do, but Dan Mullen did not lose. He never got to the 6-7 territory at UF. The man could coach above all else. And look, the personality may have rubbed some people the wrong way. The recruiting wasn't enough, but man, I don't know. I think my question to you, Matt Green, how rough of a year one is this, and embarrassing just to lose to Oregon State in this fashion, but also how many games does he have to win next year to keep the hot seat off him? Because 6-7 is not going to cut it at Florida. This is not what you want to start off with. And if you look at previous regimes at UF, they started pretty well. Most of them started strong and they kind of fizzled out. He's starting weak, and I don't know. The conference is tough, and the SEC's only getting tougher, and I don't know. Where are you at with this Florida team after year one?
It should be noted that, Dan Mullen did come in and win games, but he did go 6-7 his last year.
Well, hold on. The last year was weird because he had to fire Todd Grantham, and they had the shoe incident with the LSU game. There was some stuff.
No, that was the year before. That was the good season where the shoe happened.
That's
it's
right.
2021 last season. It's because this is Napier's first year. So this is back-to-back losing seasons for the first time since 78 and 79.
Well, he went 10-3 his first year and 11-2 the second.
But I'm saying, make no mistake, Napier's year one, this is so much of a reflection of Dan Mullen. This is the ticking time bomb that was Florida under Dan Mullen. Was he had what Jim McElwain recruited, which already was kind of a little bit on the less than Florida was used to, but they still had a lot of good players. He recruited Kyle Trask. He recruited Kyle Pitts. He recruited a lot of the good players on that defense. So you're seeing like how terrible of a job Dan Mullen was truly doing and how bare the cupboard actually was when Billy Napier got there. I think this is it's hard to put a lot on a first year coach, and they were like quietly having like a pretty good season too. Like mid-November, they were like 6-3 or whatever, 6-4, I guess, coming down the stretch, and then just losing to Vanderbilt and losing to Florida State, and then just getting absolutely like boat race. Like this bowl game means nothing. This is not a barometer of who they are as a program at all. But damn, you don't want to get blasted 30-3. Was that what it ended up?
Yes.
Like oh my God, like it was just that it was embarrassing. And I think Florida, as good of a job as it is, it's with Tennessee, back in the East and actually a contender, that makes Florida a lot more difficult of a job. And you're seeing so many recruits come down to Florida and Miami, and you're seeing like Florida's won a couple. And I think Rashada, right? He did commit to Miami the first time, but now he's committed to Florida. But with how good of a recruiter Cristobal is, you're seeing the Miami get a lot of recruits, especially with the NIL stuff they have going on. And Florida State is actually seeing some tangible progress on the field. And, I mean, they're going to be a preseason top 10 team next year. I would have no doubt, just because of the hype that is a program like Florida State. People are ready for Florida State to be back type of thing.
Matt
like
Green,
Florida State's definitely.
There's a case that they're a top 5 team this year.
I mean, I don't know about that. I mean, right now they're playing well for sure, but I mean,
who number 5 is right
but
now.
that even goes even more to my point.
Yeah.
Like it's not easy for Florida to necessarily to get up right now. So I don't know.
You know where they open next year, Matt Green?
Well, yeah, they got to play Utah, right?
They open at Utah next year. They lost to Utah they beat Utah at home this year, which was great, and it was a rough loss for Utah. After seeing the way that the rest of the season went, they obviously win the Pac-12 again. But, like, you go to Utah, you get Tennessee at home this year, which is good. But you got to go to Kentucky. You go to South Carolina. Obviously, you get Georgia. You get Arkansas at home, which is nice. But you go to LSU, you go to Mizzou, and then you get Florida State. But I think you made another good point about Florida State. Part of the problem I'm worried about with Florida, I don't think Miami, the recruiting has not slowed down. They've been electric on the recruiting trail as well. And I think I'm still a believer in Mario Cristobal getting this thing right in year 2. I'm not jumping ship from Miami yet. But I am also saying that, like, part of the issue with Florida right now is Miami spending a lot of money and they're investing hardcore. And Florida State has figured it out. Like, Florida State is in a really good position. They got the number 1 tight end in the portal that Tennessee was trying to get, the shorter kid. They got obviously Jared Verse last year, who was fantastic for them on the edge. They have been fantastic in the portal. They're recruiting really well. I think they're in the top 15 in this class upcoming. But like Jordan Travis was awesome. Benson is just an awesome running back. And like when Florida State just beat you, they beat you. And if that's rivalry is shifted a little bit, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the ceiling is for this Napier tenure, but I just don't see them being a real true CFP contender, like an actual national title contender anytime soon. I think it's going to be really hard for them.
It is tough to say because I mean you look at this year 1 like schedule. Like we talked about how tough of a schedule this was going to be this year, and you did beat a good Utah team at home. Like that was a big time win for the first game of a coaching tenure. Like you lost to what we thought was going to be a good Kentucky team. It turned out to be a pretty mediocre Kentucky team, but not a bad loss by any means. You lost at Tennessee. You lost to LSU team that won the West. You lost to a Georgia team that's the number 1 team in the country. It's like it wasn't really a bad season. You also blew out South Carolina. You beat Texas A&M handedly. It's like they had a pretty solid schedule and were navigating it pretty well in year 1. And then it's like the Vanderbilt loss, just the wheels came off after that. So I'm not really sure. I can't even explain the Vanderbilt, what happened in that to this team down the stretch. And then, it's hard to even know what to make of the bowl game, kind of like I said. But I don't know. They're in a difficult spot. Like Florida State is a traditional power, so this isn't a new thing that like Florida has been a good program at the same time Florida State has been a good program. It's not like one has to be up for the other, one has to be down for the other to be up. So It'll be interesting. Their road to being a contender, I think, got much tougher this past season with what Florida State and Tennessee have become.
They can't be 75th in passing again. And I don't know who their quarterback is going to be next year. It's probably not going to be Jack Miller. It's probably going to be a portal guy, right? Like
I think they have to go portal. Yeah, they seem like I would almost guarantee they go to the portal. Like, what, a DJ Uyunglele or something?
You can't risk that. You can't go Richardson Uyunglele back-to-back.
He wasn't terrible, though.
That's pretty bad.
He was so disappointing for what he was supposed to be. But he wasn't. I mean, Florida's talking about Jack Miller. You think they're not going to take DJ Uyunglele? Like, they don't necessarily have just like the pick of whoever they want necessarily. Like, DJU is big enough to be a quarterback at a top 25 program.
But he's a downgrade from Richardson.
Is he?
I think so. Because Richardson,
I think it's debatable.
I mean, they had a good rushing offense, and I guess
he's at least a way more dynamic runner. Yeah, for sure.
And really hard to bring down. Like, that man was next to impossible to sack.
And I think that's what Billy Napier wants. I mean, if you kind of go back to, maybe that's the only kind of player you could get at Louisiana. Maybe? And so, yeah, maybe. But, that could just be the personnel he's had and maybe not his preference. So, we shall see. Like, I wouldn't rule out someone like Devin Leary, although, I think
that's a fit.
There's noise of Devin Leary somewhere else, right? Kentucky, I think, is what.
No, Graham Mertz is going to Kentucky, it looks like.
Graham Mertz at Kentucky? Is that?
Yeah.
I think I saw him crystal balled on the 24/7 for what it's worth. I'm not sure what the portal crystal balls are worth, but I think Devin Leary's prediction is Kentucky right now.
Let's see. Yeah, he has a projection to Kentucky.
So, whatever that's worth. Like, this portal stuff is so new. Like, I don't take the recruiting crystal balls, like,
how dare he,
by as gospel, but who knows.
Yeah, that's weird. But with Liam coming back in the fold, hey, I would understand. Better. It's not like you're going to South Carolina where you're having to put out statements of like, hey, everybody wanted this guy. Like, people were calling. Like, his offenses in the NFL were not good, but like, people wanted him at this level. Like, people wanted him. Here's this video of Jay Cutler. Here's this video of another guy to prove that people are really excited about this hire. We want you to understand that people are very, very excited. We are excited. We are going to be awesome. Everything's fine. Not going to say what university, but everything's fine.
Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Like the fit, Jeff Sims at Nebraska, Matt Green. Do you think that's the right spot for him?
Sure. I like that. I feel like Jeff Sims is someone who has ability, and if he can get in a better situation, and I like Matt Rule. I think I like what he can do potentially at Nebraska. So yeah, I trust that Matt Rule can put him in a position to succeed.
I'm curious. Obviously we've seen great quarterback play from Matt Rule in the past. Obviously not in the NFL level. There's a lot of struggles there, but I don't know. Marcus Satterfield, obviously coming over from South Carolina to be his OC. I don't know. Like, they were under the radar, sneaky competent. Casey Thompson was pretty good for them most of this year. I am a little curious to see how Jeff Sims does, because it's a better competition. Like, he was solid in the ACC. He was solid for Tech, but the competition by and large is not what he's going to play week in, week out in Nebraska. And just better defenses by and large. Like, let me pull up Nebraska's 2023 schedule, because look, year one with the new coach, and Jeff Sims has got to. It's going to be hard. Let me pull up their schedule. Let's see, 2023. They get at Minnesota to open. That's a tough one. They have a top 10 defense from a year ago. They go to Colorado, so he starts off with 2 road games, and I think they'll be dogs in both. You get Michigan at home, which is nice, but you got to go to Illinois. You go to Michigan State, go to Wisconsin, close with Iowa, your new rival. I don't know. This is a tough schedule. I think they're gonna barely be fighting for bowl time. So I don't know. It's a good spot. He goes up a level in terms of competition, but I am intrigued by the talent and the flash as we saw at Georgia Tech. I don't know. It's a wait and see with Satterfield and Rule in this schedule for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I'm excited to see Nebraska and Colorado playing again. If it's anything, the backyard brawl rivalry renewed was like, then it'll be a good one.
They better have Bobby Purify and Chris Brown out there for the coin toss.
Eric Crouch, he'll be there.
I hope so. Amon Green, what's he doing?
You see Eric Crouch at the Heisman ceremony? It was like,
I didn't watch it.
Eric Crouch is just like, who is that? Oh, Eric Crouch.
Does he not look like Eric Crouch anymore?
I feel like it was, I don't know. He just looks like such a regular guy. It's just, I don't know. It's funny.
Hey, man. Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose. Purdue hired the DC from Illinois, who was also at Mizzou with Barry Odom. Ryan Walters considered a rising star in his industry. Obviously, Purdue loses Jeff Brom late in the coaching carousel to Louisville. He immediately hires Graham Harrell, who's, I think, coached at every university at this point as an OC. So he was at 1 year at West Virginia. He bounces. He was at USC previously, Texas Tech, obviously a Texas Tech quarterback. And he was the one who threw it to Crabtree, right? Wasn't he the quarterback for the Red Raiders?
Led the nation in passing, I think, like twice.
Yeah, Graham Harrell, good player. But it was one of those things that raised an eyebrow for me, Matt Green. And it wasn't just because Drew Brees is coaching the bowl game. Or what is he doing? Is he coaching the bowl game?
I didn't know that. Drew Brees is coaching in this game?
He's like I'm pretty sure he's coaching. Like, that was what I saw. He was hired as like an assistant coach.
Getting his Jeff Saturday on?
He was hired as an interim assistant coach to help with Citrus Bowl prep. Yeah. Yeah, that's
fair enough. I don't know.
I don't know what his role is going to be.
I guess Drew Brees can coach. Who knows? We'll see.
It's a bowl game. Who cares? But I'm curious, Matt Green, because he obviously had an electric defense, and they were top notch. They're going to have a couple NFL players, especially in the secondary. From this Illinois group, he was fantastic for Brett Bielema and getting this thing righted early on in Champaign. But it's weird because Purdue doesn't do this, and you go back through their Purdue's identity is offense. Like, this has always been an offensive identity. Drew Brees, Kyle Orton, Aiden O'Connell, Jeff Brom. You look at it and you're like, Tillery was a defensive-minded guy, but he still had offensive-minded approaches, and those teams were still defined by the offense, right? Like Purdue, when we think of the Purdue Boilermakers, we think of Rondale Moore. We think of just offense.
I think of statue quarterbacks, and I think of Purdue.
Yeah, honestly. But quarterbacks that produce. Like,
that's
good
true.
Offenses.
There were some pretty good quarterbacks in their history.
So when I saw Ryan Walters, I was like, Like, my immediately thought was like, great coach, wrong fit. Like, this is not going to work. This is a classic great coach, wrong fit situation for me. And Graham Harrell, obviously, so the Graham Harrell thing signals to me, he's like, he knows, like, we cannot lose the offensive identity. Like, we need to be slinging this thing around, and we need to keep that approach going. But it's also, like, a very different approach than what he was dealing with at Illinois. Like, they were ground and pound. Your guy, Chase Brown, running the ball over and over and over again and giving the defense time to rest and all that good stuff. Graham Harrell's shooting, and we're going air raid. So it's a very different scheme than what he was just dealing with in Champaign. But I don't know, this to me, unfortunately for my Boilermaker listeners, this reeks of a firing in 3 to 4 years. Like, I don't think this fit works. I think this is just I don't know. It's a tough one for me. If I'm Ryan Walters, you know where he fits for me?
Know. It's like
it's Iowa. He should have gone to Iowa. Iowa should have made Kirk Ferentz retire, and he would have slotted right in perfect.
But it could be, like a Sam Pittman situation. Like, I mean, a guy who's always been an offensive line coach, you just assume, he's going to want to ground and pound and whatever. Yeah. And it's like he gets brings in Bryles, and he's trying to run a kind of a spread, like up-tempo offense. So, they obviously did run the ball really well as well, but I don't know. So you don't necessarily know exactly who a guy is. If you're bringing in Graham Harrell, you want to throw the ball 40 times a game at least. Like, I don't know why else you're bringing him in. Him being an air raid guy, like that's what they're gonna do. So I don't know. We'll see how it works out.
Personally, I was hoping that Todd Monken would get plucked. I
I'm
just got to
sure
tell
you
you, Matt,
were.
I'm annoyed that this man, we lose Alex Golish to USF, and like Todd Monken's just sitting around in this Georgia offensive coordinator room, and I'm like, get this guy out of here. Buster Faulkner gets plucked, which was a positive as the OC at Georgia Tech, but man, I'm waiting on the Monken departure. I'm waiting on it, Matt Green. I was hoping Ryan
Yeah,
Walters
and
could
you
get
just
him in
look
there.
at a guy like Monken. I mean, with what his like track record is, like he's had some NFL success. Like he's been in college. Like he's had the stint in Southern Miss. That was his only head coaching tenure, and it's like, does this guy want to be a head coach? Like I think that's part of it. Like with what the recruiting game is, it's like does he want to recruit 50 hours a week, or does he want to just call plays and enjoy being the highest paid coordinator in college football? Who knows? So guys can sometimes get comfortable in their role. I think Monken is going to be, with every year that Georgia has success offensively, I think he's going to be a name that's brought up, every year. So, I mean, we still don't know that he'll make it out of this season without taking a jump. Because
Navy, it's time. Get the Monken family bowl for Army Navy. Let's get Todd Monken versus Jeff Monken going.
He's getting paid like I think $2.5 million a year. Like
Navy can do 2.6.
Can Navy pay the head coach $2.6 million? I'm not sure they can. Like,
it's a good question. I don't know what they make.
I think you're sitting like you've seen now Georgia coordinators get the head coaching job at Oregon, at Arkansas, at Mel Tucker went to Colorado, but now at Michigan State. It's like there's no reason to really wait around. Like, is Purdue that good of a job? Like, I don't think it's on the level of those other programs that
he would have fit that offense and his style. Like, he actually would have been interesting as a HC at Purdue.
He could be holding out for something better, or he could just be enjoying his
How old is
time.
He?
I don't know. I'd have to say he's got to be 60. But
he is 56.
56. Okay, I apologize, Todd. But yeah, I mean, sometimes you just get comfortable doing a certain thing. In Georgia, it's like he's got the keys. He can do whatever he wants on that offensive side of the ball. And you've seen Georgia have a really good offense the last couple of years. And like I've told you before, I think Will Muschamp. Like I think Will Muschamp is never going to have another job other than I don't think he's ever going to leave Georgia. I should say. Like I think. At some point, Glenn Schumann is probably going to get a head coaching job here in the next 4 or 5 years or something. And then I think Muschamp will be the solo defensive coordinator. And just however long Kirby's at Georgia, I think Muschamp's going to just be his right-hand man. He's done his head coaching job thing. Now he's back in Athens. He's home. I don't know. I wonder if Muschamp will ever leave.
I think he's going to do the home thing for a while, but I think he goes Terry Bowden to me. He strikes me as a Terry Bowden guy. Or not Terry. Which one's Terry and which one's Tommy? I always get them backwards. Tommy was the Clemson coach, right?
Tommy was Clemson, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Terry, I had it right. Where he took Akron, and then he was at like ULM.
Did he go to like Samford, or he went to somewhere real small, didn't he?
He was at a couple small ones. I think Muschamp is like the coach of South Alabama in like 7 years, or like UAB or something. I don't think he gets another Power 5 job, but I think he does the circuit at the end where he coaches the small schools in the South.
Yeah, it's possible. Valdosta State.
Yeah, like something like that. Jacksonville State even. That's where Rich Rod is. People just assume these guys are going to keep getting these head coach. I'm like, I don't think these programs are just dipping back in like they used to in that regard. I don't think they're going for a retread of that many ilks.
Everyone wants to find the next Sean McVay. They want to find a 34-year-old coach.
Like, there's a reason Dan Mullen's not coaching in the SEC. I mean, look, we'll see, but I think it's hard to get multiple stops in this conference. Bowl game that you were most intrigued by and you learned the most from in our pod one, Matt Green, was which one? Which one had your attention? Which one were you locked in on?
The one I watched the most was definitely Florida-Oregon State. It's hard to say we learned the most from that because it's like, is Jack Miller ever going to start another game as Florida's quarterback? It's like, it's hard to say. But Oregon State, it's kind of like I said, like you're going up against an SEC team. Like that's your Super Bowl as Oregon State, and they came out just clearly ready to play. But I think Southern Miss Rice, I think sneakily was one of the better games we got.
You just love Frank Gore Jr. You've been a big Frank Gore Jr. guy for a while.
Have I been a big Frank Gore Jr. guy? I didn't realize that. But
Frank McCord Jr. or Frank McCord, Frank Gore Jr.
I was always a Frank Gore fan, so maybe I have. Maybe I didn't realize how much I've hyped him up, but for good reason. In this one, he had 329 rushing yards and threw a touchdown
record, right?
pass. I mean, was it a bowl record or was it just this bowl game's record?
He broke some kind of record this weekend. It's like Frank Gore Jr. I can't believe he didn't transfer at any point. Like, the dude is somehow only 20, and I feel like he's been at Southern Miss forever. Like, how is this dude not the starting tailback at Alabama at this point? The guy is just a running machine. How is Miami not just brought him back? Yeah, it was an NCAA bowl record for 329 yards for Frank Gore Jr.
Yeah, he's better than anybody the Hurricanes have, that's for sure. But
he's just over here at Southern Miss, just hiding out for my guy Will Hall. Nothing but the best for my dude. But I mean, just really weird. You don't see this. This is like one of those things I think goes away in college football, right? Like these kind of guys who are just putting up these bonker stats at the G5 level. They just are getting plucked up. But he's just like, no, I'm good. I like Hattiesburg. I'm gonna dial up 330 against the Rice Owls, who only got in because
if he had like as good of a year this year as he did a couple years ago, then like I think he probably does bounce. But he wasn't like a superstar or anything. He's been a solid player for a few years. But I think you're definitely going to see these guys that have 1,200 yard, 1,300 yard freshman seasons. They're gonna say peace. Like Drake May. Like there's about to be a riot in college football if Drake May had transferred to one of these powerhouse programs after a great freshman year. But yeah, it's this is the nature of the beast. This is what it is now.
Well, we got a new commissioner, NCAA commissioner, so everything's fine, Matt Green. The governor of Massachusetts, I think, right?
That's so whatever that means. I'm not sure how to take that.
Before we get into, we're going to do a college football playoff teaser, Matt Green, ahead of the games that we're still about when people are hearing this, we're looking at 11 days out from when those two games tee off. How are you feeling now, like with Torrey, and being a how can I phrase this? Being kind of a lockdown man in your 30s, where our priorities have shifted a little bit, where we're not the going out and doing the midnight late stuff. And here's what I haven't run into this yet.
It's funny you say that. Because we literally had a conversation about this.
Did you?
If you're going with the direction I think you're going, you may start, or you still got more to say?
I'll tell you if I was going that way. Okay, what you're saying, yeah.
A few years back, they announced that these college football playoff games were going to be like on New Year's Eve,
yes.
And I was like, that's garbage. Like, I was a single guy, and I think it was probably 2013, 2014. I'm like, New Year's Eve is such like a go out, get drunk, like do whatever kind of holiday. Like, this sucks. Like, I'm a huge college football fan. I'm definitely not doing New Year's Eve stuff. I'm going to be watching the playoff. But since being in a relationship, I'm like, college football on New Year's Eve, this is perfect. Like, I just want to chill. I don't want to be out driving and doing shit on New Year's Eve. Like, I just want to, be chilling at home or whatever. And now you got college football playoff games on. It's like, it's perfect.
Does Tori feel the same way, where she's like, oh, Georgia's awesome now, and we're just going to be locked in on New Year's Eve for the foreseeable future, aren't we? Like, I can just cancel New Year's Eve plans for like the next 5 years.
I think Tori's down, because Tori's always just down to be at home with the dogs anyway. Yeah. So if Georgia wasn't in the playoff, then I wonder how down she would be for those to be our New Year's Eve plans. But I think I've created a college football diehard here, so she's always down.
I don't miss it, like going out the crowd. Like the New Year's Eve one, I never understood, man. That was always a nightmare for me. Like, it's just packed everywhere. You're trying to beat traffic. Everything's slammed. You're trying to find the right spot to be in when the ball drops or the peach drops or whatever. Like, there's just all this kind of stuff, and there's so much pressure to do stuff on New Year's, and having the college football playoff that night, you're like, there's no pressure anymore. Like, this is what I want to do. And it's understood by so many people who are like, yeah, we get it. You want to go stay home and watch that. Why would you not want to do that? You're like, I got my buffalo chicken dip ready to go. Like, we're doing our loaded mashed potato or baked potatoes. Like, I'm not moving from this spot for this. We're not doing it. We got Zeus and Maddox. What are they?
That's very true. I always said that New Year's Eve is when you find out who your real friends are. Like, people, like, because people are always like, you know, back when you were young, at least, this is not a thing I experience anymore. People calling and making plans and figuring out, oh, we could go here or we could go here.
Oh, those days are over.
No, I don't have anything like that. It's like someone invites me to something. Oh yeah, 2 weeks from now, yeah, I'll come. Like I won't have anything else going on. But back when you were like younger, it was like people like on New Year's, you're like, everyone wants to be doing their like ideal thing when the ball drops. So they have like their ideal scenario of what New Year's Eve is. And so they're like, oh, what are you doing over there? Who all is over there? Like, you're trying to figure out how cool that party is versus this party. You want to be in like a cool spot when the ball drops. So I always notice like New Year's Eve, you find out who your true friends are.
And you find out like how much people care about what you do and the judgment for how you spend New Year's. Like, there's some pressure when you go into the office the next day when they're like, so what'd you do for New Year's? And you have to answer, and you feel guilty, or you feel like a dork if you're just like, I stayed home. I remember one year I went to Fruitvale Station by myself, and obviously a tragic story, but a great movie with Michael B. Jordan. And it was a great way to spend a New Year's. I was like, fantastic. Like, I was by myself. I just got away, and I was like, I'm just going to go to the movies. And no one was at the movies because most people don't go to the movies on New Year's. And I was like, this is just perfect. So I got in the middle spot, like high up, and I was just good to go. I was totally content. But people are like, funny. You did New Year's in Fruitvale Station? That was your New Year's? I'm like, yeah, it was amazing. I got some gummy bears. I had a icy. It's great. Why do you have to do stuff?
Hey, some people just aren't cool just being alone with their own thoughts, you know?
That's true.
So, you know, if you can just do your own thing solo, sometimes that's all you need to do. But I think New Year's is, I've always, there's certain holidays, I feel like I don't have very much holiday festiveness in general.
Well,
like,
Christmas is coming up. What's happening here in Matt Green?
Hey, we got some Christmas lights up now. Okay. So we didn't have any the last couple years, but we got a little.
So you put the
Christmas
neighbor to work
lights
again?
And some stockings on the mantle. So
How much did you contribute to this work?
My contribution was like, you know, Tori, I was thinking about it. I'd kind of like to have like some Christmas stuff up. And she was like, are you telling me that you want me to do that? And I was like, no. And then she, like, a couple days later just surprised me. And, like,
I would never tell you that I would like for this to be done, but like, it would make me happy. Like, I'm not saying it wouldn't. Like,
because I was like, I'm not telling you to do that, but we actually, if we're just gonna be chilling at home on Christmas Day, we should have a little bit of Christmas.
But I mean, like, I have some stuff in the cart for you on Amazon, but like, I can't get over that last little hump of checkout based on what the light situation is in our house. So I don't know. Like, I'm not saying that's what you should do, but like, I'm also like, I don't know. I'm just kind of frozen at checkout. So I guess we'll
have
see
to
what
do
happens.
we got the stockings. They're like blank stockings. So like,
hold on. What are you doing stockings for? What do y'all use them? Like, how does that work on Christmas morning?
I don't know. We haven't really done. We're new at the Christmas thing, right? We really keep it simple.
Same here. That's why I'm asking, because like.
But I was saying we gotta like design them. You know, get the dogs' names and our names on the you know, the classic Christmas type stuff. You know, you know how it goes.
Okay. Have you already gotten Zeus and Maddox something? Do they know?
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure I have.
You've done no Christmas shopping. Matt Green is, it's going to be a busy week for Matt Green. He's going to jingle all the way it. And look, as we learned in that movie, it's a risky
Turbo Time. That's what I learned from that movie.
It is Turbo Time. The best Christmas movie that I do say.
That's the best one?
It's my favorite. It's always been my go-to. What's your go-to?
Well, Christmas Vacation is definitely the go-to, but Elf, I would have to say Elf is really gotten itself. It's like old enough now that it's like a classic, and Elf is definitely it's it's a movie I don't think about, and then I see it on, and I'm like, I basically laugh at everything Will Ferrell's in. So this is funny.
I think that the same, like, if you like A Christmas Story, that's your go-to, you're The Police. Like, we're probably, like, don't invite me to your home. Like, if you have A Christmas Story on,
A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
I was thinking Christmas Carol when you said that. Like, the Christmas Carol is the old school, the Scrooge and all that.
Oh, that's extremely creepy. Can you imagine walking
Christmas
into
Story, you're talking...
well, you'll shoot your eye out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so overrated. That movie's
overrated.
So overrated. I mean, it's fine. It's good. I'm not going to say it's bad. I'm not going to shit on it, but it's not... It was a classic, and so it is a movie you needed to see if you're seeing all the Christmas movies, but it's like... I don't know. The whole TBS thing they did for like however many years of just playing it for like 24 hours straight. Just terrible call. Made me hate that movie, honestly.
Christmas Vacation, obviously a classic. Love that. I will say, if you ever watch like Christmas Vacation and just the National Lampoon's Vacation, like close to each other, you're like, these are two very different characters that have completely different personalities, and the type of humor it is. It's like so much physical humor. And Christmas Vacation and Vacation's just nothing like that. It's just really weird that they're in the same like trilogy family, because they're completely different movies and completely different vibes, and honestly completely different kinds of people.
Honestly, I can't remember the last time I saw the original Vacation.
It's a classic. It's so much better than Christmas Vacation.
That's bold. That's a bold statement, sir. I'll have to check that out, actually. It's been a while since I saw that.
It's a good one. Matt Green, playoff teaser. This is your subset of the podcast tonight. How do you want to tee this off?
Well, it's just been so long since we talked about these games. We've talked about how flawed the college football playoff or the college football calendar is, that it's like the season's over. We're talking about new coaching hires. We're talking about the transfer portal. We're talking about signing day. We're just talking about all these different things. And it's like, oh, yeah, we still need to figure out who the best team is in the country. We still need to figure out, sum up this whole season thing. And so I thought we'd just have a little teaser segment, because we want to get our picks in, and we do this in our podcast later in the week. But Georgia-Ohio State, I think, is just such a sexy matchup. Let's be honest. Like, this is what the people wanted to see, what most people wanted to see in the national championship. But we're going to see it in Atlanta on the 31st. On the 31st, I should say. What is the number one thing you want to see in this game?
I think it's Stetson again, because the thing that I think people undervalue with Stetson Bennett is just what he does in big games. Because what I said about him and why he should not have been a Heisman finalist was just that, like, he tanks some bad games, like the Kent State one, the Mizzou games against inferior competition, where it was like, what are we watching here? Like, he really struggled in those kind of games, which is just weird, because he comes through and just like the Oregon game to open the year, he's just like a man on a mission, and I'm going to bury you. He's wanting to bury Tennessee for leaking the phone number, and he does that gesture, and it's just, the swagger is right there. And then you look at what he did against LSU, and you go up and down the list, and I'm like, all right, let's look at his actual numbers against AP ranked teams and like what the difference with him as a quarterback is. And it's just like, the dude had 15 TDs and 2 picks against AP ranked teams, number 4 in the country. Stetson has completed 73% of his passes and is averaging 10.1 yards per attempt in those AP ranked games. Like, he just amps up his play so much that I'm so curious to see if that continues against Ohio State, who I think is the best team he'll play this year. I mean, to this point. So I'm very curious to see if that trend continues, and if Stetson is just like a different person, a different quarterback by and large, when he's faced with big moments like the Alabama game last year. And I mean, I don't know. I'm just curious to see if that keeps up with a month layoff and what Ohio State is able to do to kind of limit what he's been able to just destroy all the big teams that he's played all year long, because it's a different guy. That's my biggest thing I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a good call, because there are some games that, like, was Stetson a Heisman candidate? You can argue forever if he deserved to be a finalist, but in the biggest games, you're right, he did come to play. I'm curious to see CJ Stroud versus this Georgia secondary because this is obviously the Big Ten had a lot of good defenses this year. There's there's a debate to be had if it was a bunch of good defenses in the Big Ten or a bunch of bad offenses. You can kind of go either way. But when you look at Ohio State, like with what Georgia did to Tennessee, like that's obviously the best measuring stick for Georgia. It's like Ohio State feels like they have two elite college players when you talk about Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt. But when you look at C.J. Stroud and Marvin Harrison Jr., it's like those are two NFL players. It's like I don't know that Jalen Hyatt's going to be an elite NFL player. I personally think Cedric Tillman's like a better like pound for pound like receiver, like how he projects to the next level. And like Hendon Hooker, it's like, is he more of a product of this great Heupel system? Is he truly like a first round talent type of thing? Like, it's hard to say. Like CJ Stroud seems like that prototype that NFL teams want. Marvin Harrison Jr. seems like just a first round talent at wide receiver. These are going to be the two just truly best players I think Georgia's faced all season. And you've seen Georgia's secondary, hold up pretty well against most of the teams they've played. Like Bo Nix, or Oregon and Tennessee were by far the two best offenses they played, and they scored a combined, I think, 16 points in those two games against Georgia. So I'm really curious to see what C.J. Stroud can do against this Georgia defense.
In terms of matchup to watch for me, I think it's just that, like, what's super fascinating is Georgia's number 2 in sacks allowed in the country. They've only given up 7 sacks in 13 games. Ohio State's right behind them at number 5 because Washington, Southern, and Georgia are all tied at number 2. Oregon only gave up 4 sacks all year long. Kind of coincidence as to whether or not or why Bo Nix had a great year. It turns out when quarterbacks have time, good quarterbacks, good things happen. Who would have thought? CJ Stroud has had just as much time all year long. He's only been sacked 8 times. So I wonder if Georgia is not able to get home against Ohio State and like the Ohio State offensive line holds up. What does that mean for – it kind of leads into what you're saying with the secondary. It's like if C.J. Stroud has time because he is such a pocket guy. It's not a Justin Fields. It's not a Cardale Jones or J.T. Barrett. Like he is going to be in the pocket. Like this guy who wants to stay in the pocket and fire downfield and just kill you in the intermediate stuff. And we'll see, but I'm very curious to see if that holds up and he is not forced to run or he's not shaken up because he's getting hit and just harassed more than he ever has, because to this point he's right there with Stetson where they have not had to run for their life really at all this whole season.
Yeah, and it's hard not to go back to the Tennessee game because it is just one game, and you don't want to make your entire opinion about Georgia be the Tennessee game because, I mean, the crowd had so much to do with just disrupting that offense as well. Like, I think Georgia's going to have, in Atlanta, they're going to have more than 50% of the fans, but Ohio State's a giant fan base. Like, they're going to travel attend for this one. This one's going to be – it's going to be much more neutral than the SEC championship or the Oregon Chick-fil-A kickoff game. Like the matchup I'm curious to see, and you kind of alluded to it, is every game with Georgia gets made as whatever offense versus Georgia defense. Can Georgia's defense get, shut down this so-and-so offense? And it just gets kind of lost that Georgia's got a top 10 offense in college football, and they're the second best offense in the SEC this year, more productive than Alabama was. And going against Ohio State, like Ohio State hasn't faced a lot of good offenses. Like Ohio State's faced 2 top 50 offenses this season, and they scored an average of 38 points a game, and it was Penn State and Michigan. So Georgia's offense against Ohio State's defense, I think, is a matchup that I think is, if Ohio State's getting stops and can allow their offense to work and not have to score every time they get it, I think that's going to be the game changer for Ohio State.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's funny, like where I flip now, because I said it's just going to be really hard. It's really, really hard to go 15-0. It's really hard to win back-to-back national titles. Like, it's just, especially in the expanded playoff era, and we definitely won't see it in the 12-team playoff era. Like, it's just the injuries and everything else. Like, there's just no way you're going 16-17-0 in the modern college football landscape.
Undefeated is going to be much tougher, but
that's what I'm saying. Like undefeated is what I'm saying. Undefeated is just going to be. I mean, we'll probably see it once, maybe, but it's just going to be really hard. There's a reason no one's going 16 or 17-0.
Not to interrupt your thought, but also if LSU 2019 just has to play the 12th ranked team and the 8th ranked team on the way to get into the, I'm sure they go 17-0 or whatever it takes.
Maybe. Injuries, but you got to remember, injuries are part of this. Like, that's a lot more games. Like, does Trevor Lawrence stay healthy for that many? Or, excuse me, Joe Burrow. Like, I don't know. Like, Jamar Chase, who knows? It's just more possibilities. You're rolling the dice more for a devastating injury to happen and wreck your season. And we're going to see that. Like, that's the 12-team playoff fallout where we're going to see a playoff shift because someone got injured in the first round or something. And it's going to be a big-time quarterback, and it's going to shake things, but it's just where we're at. I will say I'm leaning more towards Georgia takes care of business here, and then Michigan gets to just sit on TCU, and we'll get into them in a second, but like my heart's leading towards Michigan winning the national title, Matt Green. I think Georgia fans need to be pulling hardcore for TCU because they do not want the back-to-back physical body blow of Ohio State and Michigan in back-to-back games. I don't think they want that. You need to pull for TCU.
I think at this point, you got.
What are the officials doing? Are we getting the Buffalo Wild Wings where they're just tripping Max Duggan as he runs anywhere near the end zone? This one just to make sure that we don't get a Georgia TCU national title game because obviously that'll be the lowest viewed national title game of all time, and it won't be particularly close if that's what we get. But like, goodness gracious, like they would open as three TD favorites if that were the case. Like,
I mean, if they beat Michigan, they got to be a damn good team.
I'm telling you,
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
We are, but I'm just saying, like that's something I'm thinking about right now is what happens if that were to go that route. Because goodness gracious, I do not think that would be a good game whatsoever. Georgia TCU. So
we shall see. But last part about Georgia Ohio State. The team who does blank will win this game.
I think if Stetson Bennett, like if this Jim Knowles defense gets home and they are able to do kind of the same stuff that Mizzou did, where they really just send the house and they just see what happens with Georgia's wide receivers, and they're like, see if you can get open. We'll see. We're going to send everybody, and we're going to bet that your wideouts cannot get open. What happens when we take away Brock Bowers? And that's easier said than done. But I mean, Tennessee, Brock Bowers was not a real factor in the Tennessee game. It's like Tennessee focused so much on limiting that part of it that it was like, right.
Is that because Bowers was shut down, or is that because just other guys were making plays?
Maybe. I don't know. But Brock Bowers was making plays in every other game, basically. So I don't know. I think Tennessee deserves some credit for Brock Bowers not having a big-time day. Either way, doesn't matter. I think if Stetson is getting hurried and Stetson is under the same kind of duress that he was under against like a Mizzou, I wonder what that does. I think if Stetson has time, like he did against Oregon, and he's just able to pick you apart and just go to Bowers here, Bowers there, and Ohio State has to play from behind like that, I don't see CJ Stroud being the guy to be like, all right, we're down 17-0. We can bounce back. Like we're gonna be all right. Like I don't see that. So if they're not all over Stetson early, and I'm not seeing like Stetson having to roll out from the pocket and Stetson getting dinged up a little bit, I'm like, oh, Georgia's rolling. So I think that's the key for me is if Stetson has a clean pocket, just right, it's over. Georgia's covering and winning big.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I want to say like the team that wins the running battle wins this game just because Georgia's so good at making teams be one-dimensional. And so if Ohio State is actually able to run the ball and keep Georgia honest, like I think that goes huge for them. And then on the other side, if Georgia's actually able to run the ball and take pressure off of Stetson to have to win it for them, it's massive for them. So that kind of goes both ways. But I feel like the team that wins the turnover battle is who wins because you've seen in the games that Georgia's almost lost this year, it's the games that they've turned the ball over multiple times. So if Ohio State can get some key turnovers, I think that's a way that they can win this game. But yeah, we'll obviously get more into our picks later in the week, but wanted to touch on that one. And then Michigan TCU. What do you want to see in this Michigan TCU game?
This is tough because I'm good. Like I said, I'm revealing my cards, and it's nothing against you, TCU. I appreciate you guys. Great run. I'm just going to be pulling so hard for the Michigan Wolverines here. Like, I want no
What do you
part
have against TCU now?
because I just know that they can't win the gauntlet. You know what I mean? Like, they just can't win a title. So I just look at them as like, you're just occupying space, and I just want the best possible national title, and the best possible national title is Michigan, Georgia.
So what you want to see from this game is TCU just not be around anymore.
I want TCU to have the game from hell. I'm not even kidding. Like, I want to see them playing with their food week after week, struggling with team after team, having to scurry your special teams on to beat Baylor late, a Baylor team that did not beat a ranked team all year long. Like, I want this to die, unfortunately, Matt Green. I want it to die. I want it to be ugly. I want Michigan to do what Georgia did to Michigan in the semifinal last year. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a Michigan J.J. McCarthy beatdown where it's like, unleash the fury, J.J. Shout out to Road Trip, a movie that you text me about often. I'm like, hey, have you thought about quoting Road Trip more on the podcast? And I'm like, all right, if that's what you want.
You mentioned Road Trip a few times.
Yeah. By the way, that's what I think is I want this to be an absolute blowout. I don't want this to be particularly close, Matt Green.
Well, if I'm picking one thing I definitely want it to be a close game. I think we all want it to be an entertaining.
I don't want my heart rate to be out, Matt Green.
We've seen enough blowouts in the college football playoff.
It's true.
To at least want it to be a close game. But I really want to see what Michigan's defense is made of. Like, I think a lot has been made this year about the defenses being played in the Big Ten this year, and it kind of alluded to it with Ohio State this year. Like, I really want to figure out how legit the Big Ten is. Like, that's the number one thing I want to see from this playoff in general. Like, you look at these two teams, TCU has faced 8 top 50 offenses this year in 13-game schedule. I guess they played 12 teams because they played Kansas State twice. Michigan has faced 2 top 50 offenses, and they've faced 8 of the bottom 30 offenses in college football. So, like, part of this could be the Big Ten just playing great defense week in, week out, but part of it could be that they don't play very good offense in the Big Ten. And TCU is a super dynamic offense, and this is a better offense than other than Ohio State. This is a better offense than Michigan's seen all season, and they're also a different approach to Ohio State with the quarterback being such a running threat. They haven't faced a team, and you saw Sean Clifford. I mean, what do you have, like a 50-yard? It wasn't a touchdown. I think he got pulled down inside the 5 or something. But Clifford had like 70, 80 yards in this game against Michigan. Like, that's probably the only game that someone really gave him trouble. But it's, Michigan, Ohio State seasons this year, they didn't really have a murderer's row. They kind of had a handful of maybe like 2 or 3 games that you were worried about them potentially getting challenged. But so I think just this offense and seeing what this Michigan defense really is, like, I wonder if they're as elite as they look on paper, because I don't think they've seen an offense like Max Duggan and TCU yet. But
on the flip side, they're elite on defense, and they're also elite on offense. Like, they're the number 2 offensive net points per drive per BCF toys. Georgia's number 1, by the way. Ohio State number 3. Bama number 4. Tennessee 5. But yeah, that's your top 5.
Where's TCU there?
Down there at 16th.
Okay. But there's still, like, Ohio State is, really a great offense. But, I mean, who's the next best offense they've played? Penn State?
Penn State's number 6, by the way.
So, I mean, that's a solid stat as far as that goes. But
TCU
I still kind of question.
85th in passing offense, 64th in rushing defense.
Who's that?
TCU is 85th in passing defense in the country, 64th in rushing.
I think they've just faced I think there's been a lot. It's just, this is why the expanded playoff is going to be good, because I think we will finally get to a point of just every conference will be represented in the playoff. And sometimes there's years, I know if an SEC champion went 10-3 one year, we would all be arguing, that's just because of the gauntlet of the SEC. It's just hard to get out of there unscathed. that's probably what Utah fans are arguing right now. We went 10-3 versus a gauntlet of a schedule where we played the best conference in college football and even played Florida down in the SEC. Like, so to see these conferences actually face each other, the Big 12's been, kind of, I don't know, disrespected, if that's the right word this year, but I think people have kind of disrespected TCU. Like, yeah, who have they played? They played Kansas State, and then Kansas State blasted them or not blast them, but Kansas State beat them the second time they played. So how good are they really? I think there's a lot of naysayers, and I'm kind of one of them for the Big Ten this year. Like, I don't really know how good of the product we saw out of the Big Ten this year, and it's interesting that this is the year that they get 2 teams in the playoff.
That's fair. I don't see it. It is weird that the spreads are pretty close. 7.5 for Michigan right now, and 6.5 for Georgia.
Yeah, that is. So the team that does blank wins this game.
If Michigan with Donovan Edwards, without Blake Corum, that sucks for Michigan too, to just not have their Heisman candidate running back for the rest of the way here. If JJ McCarthy, we look up and it's like, if JJ McCarthy's at like 18 of 24 in the fourth quarter, 2 TDs, no picks, it's like, oh, Michigan's won this game like 31-7. That's what I see here. So if JJ McCarthy's stat line looks very clean, the completion percentage is high, he hasn't had to throw a lot, and they've been able to establish the run even without Quorum, it's like, oh, they win this game. Like, if TCU is not in a position, they never put the game in JJ McCarthy's hands to win, they don't have a shot. Like, they have to put it in JJ McCarthy's hands to win. Because Max Duggan is a better quarterback at this point. Like, that's what you want. You want it to be a JJ versus Max situation.
That's what who wants?
TCU. TCU wants it to be that. Like, they want it to be like, we're going blow for blow. We're going to ride with our guy over your quarterback. We're not letting you beat us on the ground. You're going to have to beat us through the air like we are.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, because Michigan's got the 3rd-ranked rushing defense in the country.
I don't think Kendry Miller's going to run on them.
If Kendry Miller has success on the ground and it's not Max Duggan having to put the team on his back like he did in the Big 12 championship game and almost won it for him, like if he actually doesn't have to be TCU's whole offense, I think that's the way that TCU can get the victory in this one. But it'll be tough. The Joe Moore award-winning offensive line for Michigan, and J.J. McCarthy seems to be coming along right at the right time. But we will obviously get to that one later in the week, sir. Where do you want to go next? The pick'em?
Let's do our pick'em as we wrap up here, Matt Green. How do we do over the weekend, and then what do we got in the pod before our next pod?
All right. Since we last spoke, there were 9 games in the bowl season. I went 6-3 overall, 6-3 against the spread. You went 6-3 overall. However, you went 4-5 against the spread. So I'm winning the people money, per usual.
I'm not really losing the money. They just missed out on a coffee. Like there
you go. Mm-hmm. But we obviously had a bunch of the same picks. The only 2 that were different, we had with the SMU BYU game and North Texas Boise State. And the Mean Green, I told you, playing that home atmosphere in Frisco, they almost pulled it out. They were leading going into the fourth quarter, but Boise State was too much. They did cover, so I won in that respect, but Boise State got the victory.
You should never have doubted the Broncos, the Bulldogs. Like, that's Group of 5U, man. Like, they're steady, and then there's Fresno, Boise State steady. Like, they've just been minding their own business for many, many years. Just what is the Mountain West what do the Mountain West legends do? They win football games, Matt Green. They win double-digit games. That's what Boise and Fresno State are about.
Yeah, with all this crazy realignment, those are 2 teams I wonder, like, where do they end up? Fresno State and Boise State. Like, those are 2 like really good football programs.
I think Boise ends up in the Pac-12. I don't think they have a choice. I don't think the Pac-12 has a choice, because you look around and you're like, San Diego State's a lock. But
San Diego State too, yeah.
But I mean, who else is really Colorado State jumping out there? You're like, we gotta add in this group. I don't know. You just look around, like, Matt Green. I don't know. Like,
I mean, geography doesn't matter anymore, so they could go get Nebraska.
I'm not encouraging that behavior.
They could go get whoever.
I'm anti that behavior.
Tulsa.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I refuse. UConn, Pac-12.
Yeah, Cincinnati could join the Pac-12 here in a few years.
Hold on, they just joined the Big 12. Let them do a
No.
year in the Big 12 first, Matt Green.
We're just flapping our gums here, but
That's
keeping
sad.
it moving to the bowl games on the 19th. We got the Myrtle Beach Bowl,
Yes.
Conway, South Carolina.
The Green Bowl.
The Green Bowl? Why
Yeah,
is
because they'll
that?
be on a green field.
Oh, yeah. Most teams play on a green field, though, don't they?
Well, I'm saying like this kind of green. Like it's like I don't even know.
I
What to
think
call
I
it.
made that
Aqua?
joke last podcast.
Oh,
to be
wow.
honest. But in this one, Marshall and UConn, Thundering Herd, 11-point favorite in this one. So I'm looking at these two teams, right? Marshall has won 4 straight.
Mm-hmm.
However, UConn on the season 9-3 against the spread. Give me Marshall to win, but UConn to cover the 11-point spread.
We need to just talk about Jim Mora. Didn't deserve National Coach of the Year, but I'm not sure he did it. 6-6. This UConn program has been horrific, Matt Green. This has been horrific. And Jim Mora comes in and gets them to bowl eligibility. We've all been like just all over Lance Leipold at Kansas from what he's done there. Don't get me wrong. Great. Still in the Big 12. Still have some resources. Like UConn, man, was like bottom. And we were like, I don't think UConn's ever. Like Randy Edsel came back and he's like, remember this guy? He did the Greg Schiano thing. Like I coached here before. I can get us back to like 7-5. Like Donald Brown, remember him? Like they're just showing recruits. Like remember Donald Brown? Remember Dan Orlovsky? Like come to UConn. And you're like, oh, this is just not. This is a really, really sad state of the program where you're like, I don't know how they ever get out of this and how they ever fix this. Maybe they should go back to FCS. Like they'll have more success going toe to toe with the South Dakota States of the world, like UMass. But he's done a great job, and UConn's done great. But like you said, Marshall's clicking down the stretch here. Like what they've been doing all year long. I'm a Marshall guy. And I think they're going to win this one, and they're going to win it big, Matt Green. So give me Marshall to win and cover. So unfortunately, UConn falls to 6-7, but no, I like this Marshall group, and I think they're moving in the right direction.
All right, Marshall, put it on the board. Next, we got the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. This one will be on a blue field. And Eastern Michigan and San Jose State are playing in this one. San Jose State is a 4-point favorite in this one. They have won. They've lost 6 straight against the spread, but 4-7 on the season against the spread. So for that reason, I'm picking San Jose State to win, but I'm gonna take Eastern Michigan to actually cover in this one.
Kind of a down year for San Jose State, 7-4. There was some early buzz that like they were going to be a really good team in the Mountain West, and they had the Hawaii quarterback with Chavon Cordero, who transferred in. They almost beat Auburn. Do you remember that earlier this year, where San Jose State like really had Auburn on the ropes? Do you remember that?
I had forgotten that, but yeah.
They almost beat Auburn, which would have been one of the more preposterous ones. And it's like,
how did that end? Was that where they had like a block punt, or did they like have to go for 2 or something?
Something like that, because it was weird. I remember that game ended weird. But this is also, this reminds me of Ohio, where you were like, Ohio's winning the MAC. And I'm like, Toledo's winning the MAC. What are we doing, Matt Green? Ohio's never won the MAC. Like, what are you doing? You're not a Bobcat guy. Stick with the Rockets. Stick with old Trusty. That's what I'm doing here. Just the 7th bowl game in Eastern Michigan history. They've won 1 bowl game the entirety of this football program's history. Matt Green, I'm going all reliable. I'm going with the team that almost beat the Tigers in Jordan Hare. Give me the Spartans here to win and cover, Matt Green.
All right, so it wasn't quite as close as I was necessarily thinking. It was not like the Georgia State game a few years back, but it was 24-16, so it was definitely a one-score
game.
But it wasn't like a final second thing like I was thinking. But
They were up on them at the half, 10-7.
Yeah, it was still they gave him a scare. That there's no doubt about that. But keeping it moving to the roofclaim.com Boca Raton Bowl.
Who could forget?
We got the Toledo Rockets, your Toledo Rockets, 5-point favorite against the Liberty Flames. And Liberty's lost 3 straight. And got no Hugh Freeze in this one. But got a stat for you, sir.
Yeah.
The MAC champion is 1-9 in their last 10 bowl games.
Huh.
Does that apply to the Toledo Rockets? Does the 2014 Northern Illinois Huskies have any bearing on the 2022 Toledo Rockets? The answer is no, but it is a fun fact. So give me the Toledo Rockets to win and cover.
Oh, you're going against the grain here.
Oh yeah, I mean I can't. Who's coaching Liberty right now? Like,
Josh Aldridge.
Yeah, exactly. So
well, Jimmy Chadwell will be there helping
Liberty's
out.
They're trending in the wrong direction. A new interim coach, like they're Toledo. I like what I saw from Toledo in the MAC championship, and I think they're going to be more ready to play.
Matt Green, I would like you to count how many bowl games the Liberty Flames have lost in their university's history.
I hope you have it. I hope you have the stat.
It's 0, Matt Green. They have never lost a bowl game to this point. Look, many are saying Josh Aldridge was the brains behind what the Liberty Flames have been cooking for the last few years. Many are saying.
Are they saying that?
Yeah, many are saying. They are ending poorly, which is like perfect for me because it's like they lose their last 3 games. They got destroyed by New Mexico State 49-14 late by Jerry Kill's team. So that's not a great way to end your time, but it's also like it was weird. Clearly, Hugh Freeze is getting ready to move on, and it's tough because the college football calendar sucks, and that's like on the radar of like, is Hugh going? Is he getting ready? Like, who knows? But no, I think Liberty is still the sleeping giant in the group of 5, and Jimmy Chadwell going up there, a lot of money, a lot of resources. I think they're going to continue to be. They're going to be in the college football playoff before not too long when it goes to 12. I think they're going to be in good shape there. So let me say that the talent wins out and Toledo keeps losing, and never bet on Jason Candle in a bowl game. Can't do it, Matt Green. So give me Liberty to win and cover.
All right, put the Liberty Flames on the board. The R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. We got Western Kentucky and South Alabama. How do you see this one going, sir?
I think this is the best one of the pods, Matt Green. You know what this is?
What's that?
This is offense meets defense, Matt Green. This is Kane Womack and the former DC at Indiana back when Indiana was a good football program under Tom Allen. He's coaching the South Alabama Jaguars really well. And you look at it over there, Western Kentucky. They've still got the offense cooking. They get their quarterback out of the portal. Don't know what happened there, but he was in the portal a little bit, out of the portal. This offense is still cooking, Matt Green. 8-5, a little bit rough. South Alabama, quietly a great team. They almost beat UCLA this season, and just another one where they played Troy close. This team's good, but Austin Reed is that dude. And what I am not going to do is bet against Austin Reed in this Western Kentucky offense. Give me the Hilltoppers, man. Give me the Hilltoppers to win and cover, Matt Green. Can't do it.
Not so fast, my friend. The South Alabama Jaguars have won 8 of their last 9. Mm-hmm. And you know I'm a big geography guy. They're also 5-1 at home this year.
Mm-hmm.
The New Orleans Bowl happens to be about a solid 2-hour drive down Interstate 10 from Mobile, Alabama. Mm-hmm. They're gonna have the home field advantage in this one. The Jaguars,
so you're doubting the Western Kentucky fan base traveling well for this one?
Oh no, they got a trek to make from up there in where are they, like Bowling Green, Kentucky, or something?
The
I don't know.
disrespect. You don't even know where
What
the
city is
Hilltop
Western Kentucky in? Can we look that up?
Well, hold on.
Get
I
someone to
don't
look that
know.
up for me?
I'm doing a bit,
But
Matt Green.
I know that South Alabama is way closer. I know you get confused on geography sometimes, but you got a little confused with the Bahamas and Hawaii Bowl last week.
Hold on.
But
That was okay. That was
But
fair.
South
I
Alabama's
had
got a
Hawaii
much
in my
shorter
head.
trip. So for that reason, they got the home field advantage. Give me South Alabama to win this one.
Western Kentucky's
USA.
still 12.
Are you against the USA, sir? Is that what this comes down to?
The Alabama, they're 36th in offense yards per play. Number 12, Western Kentucky. I trust this offense, man. Give me the Hilltoppers.
I like it.
Number 9 in the country in 10+ yard plays.
Well,
it's
this
gonna be
should
fun,
good.
man.
So
I'm excited for
that's
this
the whole
one.
slate. We only got 4 for this upcoming, and then we'll have a few more games to pick on the Wednesday pod.
I'm here for it. Well, Matt Green, that's all I've got, sir. On this edition, we'll have what's the biggest one on the next show that we've got?
Well, I don't think I've ever missed a Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl. Shreveport, Louisiana. That's about as good as it gets. It used to be, I don't know, maybe a punishment for a bad SEC season going to Shreveport, but that one we got Louisiana and Houston in. But
Baylor Air Force could be fun. That could be feisty.
I think Baylor Air Force is probably the best one on the slate. Also, Wake Forest, Missouri.
That could be fun.
Those are the two. The only Power 5 versus Power 5 matchup we got in these next few days.
The
before
Gasparillo
Christmas.
Bowl, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparillo. What are we doing with these names? What are we doing? What are we doing?
Just trying to make some money, man. That's what it all is.
Absolutely. Well, Matt Green, this was fun as always, sir. Thank you for taking the time, and we will reconvene on the Wednesday show. More pick'em. We'll have some more fun topics to touch on as we we're ready. We're ready for the college football playoff. That will be here before you know it. That big time preview show will come out next week. As we get ready for that, and then we'll be able to do our instant reactions the following evening. So that will be fun. But we still got about 3 to 4 weeks of solid, or I guess 2 to 3 weeks of solid college football to enjoy before this season departs once again. And then we'll have also early signing day, which is basically just signing day that we can react to very soon as well. So there you go.
A little early Christmas present here on the 21st on Wednesday. We got signing day.
Yeah,
so
we'll have that to react to immediately.
Yeah, that should be a lot of fun. 13 days left in the year 2022. 12 days till we figure out who's playing in the national championship. So I'm jacked about it, as Dan Quinn would say.
He's jacked about it. Matt Green, always a pleasure. I will talk to you on Wednesday.
Yep.